Welcome to Restaurant Review. Let's go see what TikTok has in store for us today.
The problem that I'm having with this conversation right now is that we're accusing the politicians of not knowing. They know.
Oh, they
39
know.
plus trillion dollars in debt.
Yeah.
You can't pay TSA workers $1 billion over the last month, but you could spend 800 million to 2 billion a day. And somehow, some way, you find that money to finance a war. You knew you had to.
Yeah. See, see, I like him and hate him at the same time. So he's calling out, all politicians. He's talking facts. And yeah, this is true too about the war, but that's not why he brought it up. He brought it up to try to beat on Republicans a little bit and to beat on Trump because he don't like them.
Damn money. You knew where it was. You knew how you wanted to allocate it, and you knew you didn't want it to go to the American people. That ain't ignorance. That's viciousness. That's cruelty. That's not thinking about the American public. You see, when we sit up here and we talk about aspiring politicians and all of that stuff, well, you know how you win an election right now? All you got to do is look the people in the face, be straight up with them, and let them know you about them. You got a shot. That's all you got to do, because you look anywhere else. Where's the leadership? Look at the Republican Party right now. It's Trump. You know what I said the other week on my show? I said, y'all do know he's leaving in 2028, right?
The funny part is, he says all you have to do is say, yeah, I'm for you. But, there's so many gullible people. There's gullible people on all sides, but there's a lot of Democrats right now that are super gullible. I mean, look at Mom Dami. Hey, I'm going to give you free everything. I'm going to give you free everything. You don't have to pay for nothing. Yeah, it's just ridiculous.
Unless he circumvents the 22nd Amendment and runs for a third term. He's leaving. J.D. Vance, you ain't him. Don't think you are. Marco Rubio, thank God he doesn't try to be. The rest of these people fawning over him in such embarrassing fashion, you ain't gonna be him. And the Democrats, my God, please find somebody who can lead. Gavin Newsom is out here in California. Out here in California. Pulling off in his own way what I think he wants to. He's being known more for trolling Trump on his podcast or with other interviews than what he's actually doing in the state of California. They think that's leadership because they don't have it.
Which is really sad. But it's also because they're too stupid to realize that the stuff going on with California is so far in debt. We got big companies leaving like every day. We're overtaxed. It's just all the policies are just crazy and ridiculous. Even when, they'd say, oh, Gavin Newsom was a leader until Trump. It's like, no, he wasn't. He was taking advantage of us. Billions of dollars. I mean, come on, the high-speed rail or whatever it was they was supposed to do from San Francisco to LA. Come on. Where'd all that money go? You know where it went. It went in his pocket. Somebody bought him a mansion or something like that. Why would somebody buy you a mansion? That's just insane.
They know what they're doing. These politicians know. They know where the money is. They know how to get some of it, too. Because Marjorie Taylor Greene came into office. She was worth a couple of $100,000, according to the reports. How the hell you leave departing and you worth $25 million? Where'd it come from? I work every day. I make a pretty good salary. I ain't making $25 million. Working on Capitol Hill with a salary that's less than $400,000 by accident, somehow, some way, lobbyists up on Capitol Hill, you vote in one way or another, making sure that you assuage their concerns and appeal to them and all of this other stuff. And in the meantime, you getting paid, but the American people ain't.
That ain't an accident.
That ain't an accident. They know what they're doing. They know what they're doing. The problem that I'm having with this conversation right now
is that it's been happening for years. It's been happening for years. I swear, politicians, 10, 20, 30 years ago, people were saying the same thing about politicians. How you go into politics, not worth nothing or very little, and you come out a millionaire. It's like that money's coming from somewhere. And the House Oversight Committee is not doing their damn job. That's just all there is to it. They're not doing their job. It's crazy. I just, yeah. No, I wish like a lot of Americans wish. And, personally, I wouldn't care if it was Democrat or Republican. As long as they actually got in, made common sense laws, saved us money, made our lives better, it'd be crazy. Like minimum wage. You can't tell me all these years they haven't come up with a solution for minimum wage, especially when it's obvious. High minimum wage to the cost of a one bedroom apartment. It's simple. When you work a minimum wage job, what's the minimum that you expect? You expect a place to live, food in your stomach, your bills to be paid. Okay, you can even go further. All financial experts tell you the 30, 50, 20 rule. Only 30% of your gross wage should go towards rent, utilities, and renter's insurance. So factor all that for a one bedroom apartment. Guess what? That's the new minimum wage per county. That way, as price fluctuates from county to county, state to state, boom, it's taken care of. It's taken care of per county. So you live in this county, okay. Now, people that want to commute to another county, hey, you can maybe get a leg up, depending on what county you're living in, where you can drive to, stuff like that. But still, that would fix it. And then if minimum wage is set that way, if housing goes up, minimum wage goes up. If prices in stores go up, rent goes up. Guess what? Wages go up. It's all connected. It'd be all connected.
This woman right here is Chuck Schumer and the entire Democrats' worst nightmare, as she completely dispels and fights back against one of their main talking points. You've got to check this out.
In 1991, my parents and I went to have lunch at a local cafeteria with a friend of mine that was managing the cafeteria.
A local cafeteria? Is that really a thing? Oh, no. Okay.
Cafeteria that day. We'd finished eating when all of a sudden this guy drove a pickup truck through the floor-to-ceiling window. It came crashing in and ended up maybe 15 feet from me. Of course, we thought it was an accident. And I rose up and began to go help the people that he had knocked over. But then we heard gunshots. And my father and I immediately got down on the floor. We turned the table up in front of us. My mom got down behind us. And the shooting continued. Now,
see, that's crazy. I mean, it makes sense, but it sounds like they're in an action movie. I swear, I gotta be real. That just, I don't know. I don't know. Maybe that's just the way she remembers. I don't know. That's a little strange.
at that time in 91, we weren't seeing these mass shootings that we're seeing now. So I was waiting for him to say something like, all right, everybody put your wallets up on the table. Or I thought maybe it was a hit. Maybe there was somebody important in there. But the shooting continued. I'm going to tell you, it took a good 45 seconds, which is an eternity, to realize that the guy was simply going to walk around, take aim, pull the trigger, go to the next person, take aim, pull the trigger. He was executing people. When I did realize it, I thought, I've got him. I've got this guy. I reached for my purse that was on the floor next to me, realized I had a perfect place to prop my arm. He was up. Everybody else in the restaurant was down. And then I realized that a few months earlier, I had made the stupidest decision of my life. I had begun leaving my gun out in my car because I did what most normal people would do. I wanted to be a law-abiding citizen. I didn't want to get caught with a gun and maybe lose my license to practice. I remember looking around and thinking, well, great, what do I do now? Throw a salt shaker at him? At that point, my dad took my attention, and he started to raise up. He said, I've got to do something. I've got to do something. He's going to kill everybody in here. And I tried to hold him down by the shirt collar. But when he saw what he thought was a chance, he went at the guy. You have to understand, though, a man with a gun in a crowded room has complete control. My dad covered maybe half the distance, and the guy just turned and shot him in the chest. My dad went down in the aisle maybe 7 or 8 feet from me, and he was still alive and still conscious, but as dreadful as this may sound, I saw the wound, and I basically wrote him off at that point. The good news is that it made the gunman change directions slightly. Instead of coming directly toward me, he went off to my left. And at that point, somebody way at the back of the restaurant broke out another window, and I remember hearing that crash and thinking, my God, here comes another one. But instead, I saw people getting out that way. So I looked up over the top of the table. When the gunman had his back to me, I stood up. I grabbed my mother by the shirt collar. I said, come on, we got to run. We got to get out of here. And my feet grew wings. I made it out that back window, ran into my manager friend that was coming out a side door, and he said, "Thank God you're all right." And I said, "Yeah, but Dad's been hit and it's really bad." And I turned to say something to my mother and realized that she hadn't followed me out. Now, to wrap the story up, the police officers, several of them were patients of mine, told me a few days later they filled in the gaps. They said that they were actually one building away in a conference. And in an odd twist of gun control fate, the hotel where they were having their conference, the manager there didn't want them to be wearing their guns and potentially offending any of her clients or customers. So she had asked them to leave their guns in their cars. So precious minutes were lost while they retrieved their guns from their locked cars. They said that when they got over there and worked their way in through the broken window behind the pickup truck, they didn't know who the gunman was. There were bodies everywhere. But they said they did see a woman
Probably
out in the
one standing
aisle
up.
on her knees cradling a mortally wounded man. They said they watched as some 30-something-year-old man walked up to her. They said she looked up at him. He put a gun to her head. She looked down at her husband, and he pulled the trigger. That's how they knew who the gunman was. They said all they had to do was fire a shot into the ceiling, and the guy immediately rabbited to a back bathroom alcove area. He exchanged a little gunfire with them and then put a bullet in his own head. 23 people were killed that day, including my parents. It didn't occur to me at the time, but Mom wasn't going anywhere without Dad. They had just had their 47th wedding anniversary. So you may think that I was angry at the guy that did it. But the truth is, that's like being mad at a rabid dog. You don't be mad at a rabid dog. You take it behind the barn and you kill it, but you don't be mad at it. But I've got to tell you, I was mad as heck at my legislators because I honestly believe that they legislated me out of the right to protect myself and my family. And I would much rather be sitting in jail right now with a felony offense on my head and have my parents alive to know their grandchildren. With that, I thank you.
Wow. That's just crazy. And yeah, that's what a lot of legislators try to do to us, especially Democrats. They're like, yeah, no, we're not going to take your right to own a gun. We're just going to take your right to have your gun anywhere except for locked in your safe in your house. And if you don't believe me, and you're not old enough to remember, smoking was like this too. Not that I'm advocating for smoking, but you're right. If you want to be a smoker, be a smoker. If you want to be able to smoke cigarettes, okay. But what did they do? Did they outlaw smoking? No. We're not taking your freedom away from you. We're not taking your freedom away from you. You can still smoke if you want. But we're going to limit where you can do it. So there's a couple places that I get and I agree with, but it's almost like the only place you can smoke now is in your home. And it's funny, Dennis Leary, he did a skit about that years ago. Where can you smoke now? You can only smoke in your apartment, in your bedroom, under the blankets. It's like you got to be hiding. You're not allowed to do it anywhere anymore. So it's like, is it really freedom? And is it really a right to have it if you're not allowed to have that right everywhere? Why do you lose your right to carry your gun in so many places? Now, I understand courthouse, schools, even the schools, I'm a little I don't know. If you're a licensed legal gun holder, I don't see the problem with it. Um, I've heard many people, and I've also heard family stories of what it used to be like. People in high school, 16-year-olds driving a pickup truck to school and got a couple guns on the rack in front of the window, in the back window of the truck. Got a handgun under the seat and stuff, and there was never any problems. So yeah, it's not the guns, it's the culture. And the more the culture gets messed up, the more politicians, especially Democrats, try to fix the culture by changing the laws for law-abiding citizens. And it's not the law-abiding citizens you have to worry about. Let's check out part 2 of this.
All of them. You know, the critics call this confiscation. Americans who own AR-15s and AK-47s will have to sell them to the government, all of them. You know, the critics call this confiscation. Are you proposing taking away their guns, and how would this work?
I am. If it's a weapon that was designed to kill people on a battlefield, if the high impact, high velocity round, when it hits your body, shreds everything inside.
Isn't that kind of the point of, the Second Amendment? Is that you have guns that are meant to kill people, so you can kill animals to hunt, and also to take back your government with force if necessary?
Of your body, because it was designed to do that, so that you would bleed to death on a battlefield and not be able to get up and kill one of our soldiers. When we see that being used against children, and in Odessa, I met the mother of a 15-year-old girl who was shot by an AR-15, and that mother watched her bleed to death over the course of an hour because so many other people were shot by that AR-15 in Odessa and Midland. There weren't enough ambulances to get to them in time. Hell yes, we're going to take your AR-15, your AK-47. We're not going to allow it to be used against our fellow Americans anymore.
Congressman, thank you.
And I want to say this. I'm listening to the people of this country. The day after I proposed doing that, I went to a gun show in Conway, Arkansas, to meet with those who are selling AR-15s and AK-47s and those who are buying those weapons.
Well, they did not tell everything they're going to do. Like, if you're going to take people's guns away, wait till you get elected, then take the guns away. Don't tell them ahead of time. By the way,
Yeah, she's telling you to lie to people. If you're running for office, don't be honest with the people to get elected. Lie to the people. Get elected, and then do whatever you want. It's not accountability.
I will give the United States Congress 100 days to get their act together and have the courage to pass reasonable gun safety laws. And if they fail to do it, then I will take executive action. And specifically what I will do is put in place a requirement that for anyone who sells more than 5 guns a year, they are required to do background checks when they sell those guns. I will require that for any gun dealer that breaks the law, the ATF take their license. And by the way, ATF, alcohol, tobacco, and firearms. Well, the ATF has been doing a lot of the A and the T, but not much of the F. And we need to.
And as far as I know, they've already been doing that. And most of the time, it's not the legal guns they're the problem, except for the ones that are stolen by criminals.
And then.
Yeah, no, like she said, oh, the mass shooting. Okay, yeah, you can blame a couple mass shootings, but I'd like to argue there should have been signs. There should have been signs. There were signs about these people. I mean, come on, a guy that's like, oh, I'm not a guy, I'm a woman. You know what? If you feel that you're a woman when you were born in a man's body, that automatically means there's something wrong with your brain, because you should think you're a man. Because that's the way it's supposed to work, right? You're born a man, you feel like you're a man. Born a woman, you feel like you're a woman. That's the way it's supposed to work. If you think you're something other than what you are, that means there's something definitely wrong with your brain.
On the third piece, because none of us have been sleeping over the last 2 years, part of what has happened under the current administration is they took fugitives off the list of prohibited people. I put them back on the list, meaning that fugitives from justice should not be able to purchase a handgun.
But Joe Biden is playing the Grinch. His ATF.
Wait, did she just say that fugitives should not be allowed to buy guns? If you're a fugitive, you're wanted by the law, so therefore you shouldn't. I mean, in essence, yeah, I get it that, yeah, you shouldn't be able to buy a gun if you're a fugitive. But yeah, how would you get the gun if you're a fugitive? This doesn't make sense.
Recently introduced a sweeping new mandate where selling even a single firearm could require you to obtain a gun dealer's license. And for gun buyers, it means that virtually every private sale of a firearm will be registered with the ATF.
what?
This is what I was talking about how they're not like, oh yeah, we're not going to take your right to own a gun away from you. But by the time they get done, The only thing you're going to be allowed to have is like a little Derringer that you can't aim with, only shoots 2 feet. You know, what? You still got a gun?
Think about what it means if you must become a gun dealer to sell just one gun. The ATF can then execute warrantless searches in your home without notice. They can inspect your firearms during that search. Plus, if you fail to comply with this rule, it could land you 5 years in jail and a $250,000 fine.
Aside from very strongly protecting your Second Amendment, which was not easy. That was not easy. And by the way, they will take your guns away as sure as you're standing or sitting there. They will take your guns away. Either that or obliterate the Second Amendment. The right to bear arms. You have the right to bear arms, especially when you look at a Portland and you see how weak those Democrats are. The governor, the mayor, how pathetic. They let them riot every night. We're saying, let us come in and solve your problem. We will solve it for you in 1 hour, just like we did in Minneapolis, Minnesota, right? 5 nights, 6 nights. They have to ask us in. Let us come in. We'll solve your problem. They're almost used to it. This is the way our whole country would be if you ever let a thing like this happen. Our whole country would be.
Americans who own AR-15s.
Yeah, Trump definitely has a point. You know, it's like Democrats want the crime. It's like Portland. It's like if they really wanted the violence to stop, they'd say, yeah, go ahead, come on in, stop the crime. Once you stop the crime, okay, we're good. Thanks for the help. You know, you can go. You know, but yeah, they just don't want the help. It's crazy, which tells you that, you know, they have a different agenda. Thanks for coming. I will see y'all next time. Please make sure you like and subscribe. Let me know what you thought about this stuff in the comments below. Yeah, you know, I mean, do you agree that that's what lawmakers are going to do? Take away our guns or not take away our guns and just kind of make laws so we can't have them anywhere and have little 2-foot shooting guns? Let me know what you think. I'll see y'all next time.